Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Club. What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's doing good today. I know that my day's going great. But, before we get started with this video podcast, if you would please join me in a moment of silence, followed by a serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers. And for those of you still in the struggle, so please, a moment of silence, please. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. All right, well, let's get started. Man, how's it going, everybody? It's going great. Today I wanted to touch on something that I was on the end of this book that I'm reading, and just something kind of stood out at me today when, that I remembered when I was finishing that book up, and it is something that's called mindful concentration. Okay, and mindful concentration is, well, I mean, exactly what it means, right? It's being mindful when you're concentrating, and where I believe that people get kind of misconstrued with that they may not know that they're doing it is when you're in that negative mode, in that negative mindset. See, what happens when you're in this negative mindset and you are so let's just say, for example, you're angry at something that somebody did. Okay, so now what you're doing is you're concentrating on that specific feeling. You know what I mean? So now you're mindful of this thing that upsets you, and you're letting this thing eat at you all day long. You know what I mean? That's being mindful of your concentration. Now, why does it seem that it's so easy to do that when it's a negative thing? You know what I mean? Why does it seem so easy for us to do something about a negative, mindful, concentrated thing, and in turn your actions are gonna, be of a negative, thing, right? And I know that for myself personally, I know like when I would get up, when I was in the addiction and I would get up in the morning, the first thing I had to do was smoke some, I needed to smoke the drug. That's what the first thing that I had to do. And if I didn't have it, then I'm mad, I'm irritated, I need to go get it. So my concentration is just focused on that. It's a pinpointed concentration, if you will, and then my day is just dwelling on this thing that I have to have. You know what I mean? So I won't do anything else until I get that first, hit of the day. And it just mind-boggling to me that I was doing that. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, why can't I put that same effort into getting clean, into changing my life, and for it to go a different, way than where it is now? And, it's a practice, you know what I mean? And it's something that you have to do repetitively. It's something that you have to do on a daily basis. It's not something that you could just, do once and then you're good. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen like that. Nothing ever happens like that. Nothing, you're never going to get any part of your goals or things that you want in life through that type of mindset. You know what I mean? That, okay, as soon as I get there, let's just say, for instance, you wanted to, lose a little bit of weight or whatever, and you finally get to that weight from working a year. I've been exercising for a couple of months or whatever. You've been eating right, and you finally get to that weight. Now, once you reach it, if you stop doing the things that you're doing, if you stop doing those things, then guess what? You're probably going to regain the weight. You know what I mean? If you stop doing that routine, then you're going to go back to where you were. You know what I mean? So in turn there is, that means that you got to keep practicing that positive thing that you're doing. You know what I mean? And believe it or not, when you do a positive process, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, and if you do that on a consistent basis, then you reprogram your muscles, you reprogram your body, or you reprogram your mind to start doing those things. And it becomes second nature then. You know what I mean? Ultimately, that's what happens. It ultimately becomes second nature, and in turn, there is an easier process for you to do things and to to set another goal and accomplish it, because now you have a foundation. Now you have this thing that you can always look back and say, man, you know what? I set a goal about this, and I conquered it, and I'm still doing it. You know what I mean? That's a big thing. You know what I mean? Even if it's just small goals. For me, I had to. I know that I had to do like morning affirmations so that I would keep myself reminded of what I needed to do during my day, or not to forget the processes or my goals or whatever it was. You know what I mean? And because I did it on a repetitive basis, till this day, till present day, I wake up in the morning and I do prayers and affirmations. My mind, as soon as I open my eyes, that's the first thing that my brain starts thinking. So I automatically are reciting these prayers in my head, which is weird to me. But because I've been doing it for so long, my mind's already programmed that way. You know what I mean? It's just the same way as when I was in the addiction. Like every morning I had to have that bowl of smoking. You know what I mean? Every morning that had to happen. I wouldn't function. I wouldn't do anything unless I had that hit first. You know what I mean? So that is, to me, mindful concentration. Because now you're concentrating on something that you're mindful about now, because you've gone through some adversities, through some bad times or whatever, and you know now what it is that gets you there and what it is that takes you back. You know what I mean? So it's imperative that you do these things on a repetitive basis, because if you think that you're going to be able to attain goals and keep them by just doing a certain amount of things, and then once you get it, stop, then more than likely you're going to lose whatever it is that you decided to attain. You know what I mean? You have to keep a process going by, it's just like if you go to school and you get a degree in a certain field or whatever. If you don't continue on that field and get a job and put things in practice, then guess what? You're going to lose all that knowledge that you gained, and it's not going to do you any good. You know what I mean? It's going to be useless. It's going to be useless knowledge of information that you studied for 4 years or whatever it was, and now you're not putting it into practice because you decided to stay secluded in a room because you got depressed, somebody made you mad, or whatever the case is. You know what I mean? It's just I'm just hypothetically putting different scenarios and examples in there, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. But so my whole point of talking about mindful concentration is just the fact that it's a thing that you're gonna have that you'll start being aware. You'll start seeing things in a different light, because now, today, it doesn't matter what I do in my life today. Just to give you an example, when I rode the bus this morning to get to a meeting, and I live pretty far from downtown and San Antonio, Texas, and when I rode that bus to get to the meeting downtown, the whole time in that meeting, in that bus ride, I'm sitting in there and I'm silently meditating to the Soham mantra, and just looking at faces, looking at people, feeling energies, being mindful of my ride, being mindful of the people aware that are around me, being mindful of the things that I'm seeing as the bus goes by, as I'm meditating. And it's just it's just this feeling that I get that I'm connected to everything that I'm seeing. And it's just too funny, because it sets the tone of my day, because now I'm so mindful of everything and all of my surroundings that, I'm feeling people's emotions, if you will. And I can see, the reaction of people when they're paying, if they get upset, or if they're, hurting, the way they're walking, or, if somebody, you can see emotion in people's eyes. And, I see people with their headphones on, and they're in a totally different world than somebody who's just walking in with a cane and just barely moving. And I feel all of that energy, and it makes me feel grateful that I'm sitting there and being able to meditate and be aware of all of this stuff, and thinking that, wow, just, 2 years ago or whatever, I was in the same bus riding the same route, except I was high as a kite. You know what I mean? I was on my way to go get some drugs, or I was on my way to go do drugs, or whatever, right? So to be in that same seat, in that same route, but in this different thought process, it's like I'm this whole new person. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not that person anymore. I don't know what happened to that person, but I'm glad that I'm not playing that role anymore. You know what I mean? I've got a different lens of my life, that I'm looking through life in a different way, that it makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel like I'm doing something useful with my life and helping other people, and just being aware of everything that I'm able to enjoy. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to, kind of throw that out there today, and, stop for a minute and think, are you being, are you practicing mindful concentration in the things that you do? And are you practicing them in a way that are hurting you, and that are negative? Because a lot of times we do that, you know what I mean? When we're stuck in these things that bound us down, whether it's sadness, depression, anger, PTSD, trauma, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, addiction to anything, we tend to be mindful, concentrating on that adversity, that thing that's keeping us bound down, that stronghold. And if you think about it and kind of dissect that in a sense, say, wow, man, I spend a lot of time in that negativity. You know what I mean? If you stop and think about it like that, and then say, man, I need to change that, and just know that you can change it. You know what I mean? You can, and I tell you this through experience, that you can. There is a better way to look at life. There is a better way to live life. It's in not just in that realm, that ball of negativity, that ball of despair. What you want to do with that ball is that you want to get that ball and you want to grab it all and then just bring it in and then just confess it out. Just let it go. I can guarantee you when you let it go, you're going to feel yourself absorb new energy. You'll feel yourself absorb new energy when you let it out and you express it, and verbally say that you no longer allow this negativity to run your mind, to dictate your day, to dictate your actions. You know what I mean? When you do that, and then you just do that on the daily basis and maybe throw in a prayer or some sort of meditative mantra behind that and just be one with yourself and your higher power and the energies of Mother Earth, you'll be amazed at how your mindset will start changing. Because when you start practicing things like that, your mindset just automatically starts moving its own way. And when you let that positive energy go in, it's weird, but it just starts getting you into these positive. It takes you into these positive realms, man, and it's good. It's just a good way to live, and it feels good. And you'll see that your actions will start just automatically changing. Because I know they have for me, and I know if it could happen for me, man, I know that it could happen for you. But anyway, I guess at this time I will just gratefully ask you guys to please give me a thumbs up, shoot me a comment, share my channel. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. Doesn't cost you a thing, but just know that when you do that, you'll be helping out another veteran, another homeless person, another person dealing with childhood traumatic experiences, another person dealing with PTSD, another person dealing with drug addiction, with anger, with suicidal thoughts, depression, because my friends, I've dealt with all those things. And my point is here is to share the message of encouragement and positivity and spirituality with as many people as we can, to bring them to this side of positivity, spirituality, and recovery, man. So I thank you very much for watching my channel. I really appreciate it. I guess until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.